Hello guys, this is the King Setup. Welcome back again to my YouTube channel, and today I want to share with you how I managed to take this beautiful gold trade here. So we managed to buy from this zone, from this low to this high, and as you know, we use the engulfing strategy. So number one, we have to mark the zone, and then we follow the complete SOP as usual. So if you don't follow the complete SOP, most of the times you will be missing a lot of entries. And if you fail to miss one of the SOPs step by step, you will miss a lot of entries also. So number one, you identify the zone. Number two, you wait for the price to get out of that zone. Number three, you wait for the price to move in sideways. And number four, you wait for the price to retrace back to the zone. And after identifying everything and you are sure that everything is correct, you wait for the current market price, and then you can execute your trade. So I want to show you how I followed the complete SOP and managed to buy from these areas here. So as you can see, we had this H2 engulfing buy. So I identified this engulfing buy, and after identifying this engulfing buy, I waited for the price to get out of that zone, and I waited for the price to move in sideways, and then the price retraced back to my zone so that I can continue to buy. So you might not see these sideways. That is why we have two candlesticks. But if I switch to M30, you might see maybe we had a good retracement from the zone and back to the zone. So you see we had this engulfing buy zone here. So the price moved out of that zone, and then it moved on sideways. And then the price retraced back to that zone. So we wait for the first M30 engulfing buy, because when we are switching to M30, we are only interested in the current market price. Because as I always say, the current market price of H4, H2 is M30. So because in this case we are inside the H2 zone, we will be marking the M30 zone. So let me show you how you go about it. So let me make this color to gray so that we can identify our H4 zone. As you can see, this is the H4 zone. Then the price after retracing, getting out of that zone and retracing back to our zone, the first engulfing was this one. This was the first engulfing buy. This was the first engulfing buy. So number one, you get the zone. Number two, you wait for the price to get out of the zone. Number three, you wait for the price to move in sideways. As you can see from here to here, the market or the price was moving in sideways, and then it retraced back to our zone. And then you wait for the price to give you, at the current market price, to give you engulfing pattern. This was another confirmation. So from around here, you are supposed to wait for the price also to do or to give you the complete SOP the way it gave you from this H4 zone. So when we come to this M30 zone, we are expecting the same move like this one, and then we will execute on M5. So let's switch to M5 and see if we had a complete SOP. So as you can see, this was M30 engulfing buy, this zone. So the price got out of that zone, moved in sideways, and then retraced back into our zone. Then at the current market price, the price formed engulfing buy. So we change that one to yellow so that we can mark our M5 zone clearly. So most of the times we realize that the price maybe was giving you this, like this engulfing buy, and then it might get broken because at this time we did not have a good volume though. But let me show you something. If you get a zone like this one, and maybe you want to buy around here, you first of all measure the size of the zone, because if we have more than 20 pips, you cannot use that zone, because we will not be able to use a good or a proper risk management. So we mark that zone, and then this would be your entry. This was supposed to be your entry. Or if you see that maybe 40 pips is a lot, you are supposed to use 50% of this zone. That is what I always say. Or wait for the price to cross, around this candle. So this is the candle you are supposed to wait for it to cross. But if it doesn't cross, you wait for the price to retrace from this zone here. You wait for the price to retrace back 50% of this zone. Then you can use around 30 to 35 pips. So most of the times I use I use 30 pips, and I use 50% of that zone. So this was the first area that we took our buys. Then, as you can see here, we also had these. If we switch to M30, we realize that we had this M30 engulfing sell. So this one, I use it as my roadblock. So if I take my first take profit, my first take profit should be this zone here. So if you take your entries from this zone here, you're supposed to take the first take profit from the first M30 engulfing sell, and then you can leave the runners up to these areas here, or H4 zones. So that is how this trade was being executed. So I'm expecting the price to continue to come to the next H4 zone. The next H4 zone is this one. So this is where I'm expecting the price to go. This is where I'm expecting the price to go, because you have engulfing fail here. So if price comes to around these areas here, I can now say that I'm willing to cross my positions. Yeah, that is how that trade was executed. So number one, you identify your zones, most probably H2 or H4. If you get H2 zone, you mark the H2 zone. Then you switch to M30. After switching to M30, you will wait for M30 to give you M30 engulfing buy inside that zone. Then you can wait for the price to retrace back to that zone. And after the price retraces back to that zone, you can switch to M5 to confirm your entry. That is how that entry was confirmed using M5 engulfing buy. Because anytime you use M30, anytime you use 30 pip stop loss, you will wait for that 30 pip stop loss to be hit. But we don't cross until we hit our stop loss. Very easy, very simple. So the first take profit was here. Then the second take profit will be this one. And as you can see, the price has already broken our M30 engulfing zone. So we can expect the price to continue pushing up to these zones here. Yeah, see you on my next YouTube video.